Howdy, and welcome to Texas. I'm here at Big Bend National Park alongside the Rio Grande. The Rio Grande is the international border between the United States and Mexico. This side of the river is Texas, and that side is Mexico. It's December, and the temperatures range from the mid-20s to the mid-70s. Also, we'll be hiking and camping in elevations from 1,800 to almost 7,000 feet. You need to be ready for anything. So get your gear in order, because we're going camping down on the border.
Big Bend is located in the northern stretch of the Chihuahuan Desert. The river's flow changes abruptly to the northeast and forms the Big Bend of the Rio Grande. Hundreds of miles from nowhere, Big Bend is the most remote and least visited national park. It's one of the last remaining wild corners of the continental United States. The park contains massive canyons, vast desert expanses, and the entire Chizos mountain range. Covering over 800,000 acres, it's the largest protected area of Chihuahuan Desert topography in the U.S. Not only is Big Bend large, it's also quite ancient. Archaeologists have discovered human artifacts estimated to be over 9,000 years old. The volcanism that first created the mountains happened eons ago. The sights, sounds, and solitude of Big Bend, once discovered, are never to be forgotten. The Castellon area was my first destination in the park. I stayed at the Cottonwood Campground, situated in a little border oasis. The gravel road looks like it's taking you right to Mexico. Just before the river, the road veers to the left into a grove of cottonwood trees. Although the campground is wide open and lacks privacy, it was a comfortable place to camp. Also, I had a great view of Mexico about 150 feet away. This time of year, the campground was pretty empty and very quiet, but even when the place is crowded, it's a special thrill to camp along an international border. The Chizos Mountains dominate the skyline to the north. The Sierra del Carmen's in Mexico provide a dramatic background to the south. A thin greenbelt runs along the river. There's a lot of history here. The Comanche Trail was close by, and Pancho Villa also used Big Bend country for border crossings. Santa Elena Canyon is about 8 miles from the campground. The hike is short, easy, and impressive. The only difficult part is scaling the cliff face at the beginning of the canyon. Steps and railings help ease the climb. Once you reach the top, a whole new view of the canyon engulfs you. To the right is Texas, and to the left, Mexico. The Rio Grande carved the canyon because the mesa is limestone and the river is heavily loaded with sediments and sand. They act as scouring agents, constantly eating away at the rock. The trail levels off and winds through the greenbelt. At this point, the canyon walls rise 1,500 feet from ground level. As the trail ends, the canyon narrows to less than 100 feet wide. I would leave camp at dawn to go videotape, and come back for lunch. Some predators entered the oasis at midday that were usually nocturnal hunters. When I first started camping here, the coyotes kept their distance. After a while, they came closer and closer to my campsite. It seemed they were getting used to me, which was cool. Then it seemed they were becoming interested in me, which wasn't cool. But actually, they were interested in these green crawlers that my campsite was crawling with. Eventually, the coyotes gave in and came within 40 feet of me to snag their prey. They were close enough that you could hear them eating. Even the wise old owl came down by my campsite to enjoy some lunch. Herds of javelinas forage through the campground day and night. Although chiefly vegetarian, they are known to rip apart tents left with food in them. Other than that, they are non-aggressive. Javelinas are found as far south as Argentina and as far north as Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. Cerro Castellan is the landmark of the Castellan area. The colored layers reveal millions of years of volcanic events. Stacked in this tower are numerous lava flows with layers of gravel and clay from periods of erosion between eruptions. Volcanic ash deposits harden into a soft rock called tuff. Wind and water erosion sculpt dynamic forms. The Castellan area stirred my soul. I gazed across to Mexico and thought of two countries separated only by a small river, yet so far apart. When I went walking in the desert at night, all I could think of was how great it is to be here. The Chizos Mountains are named after the Chizos Indians who lived here in the 16th century. A paved road leads up to the Chizos Basin campground at 5,400 feet elevation. This is the most popular campground at Big Bend and always fills up first. There are a lot of campsites crammed into a small area, but it's a very scenic place. Each campsite has a bear box, picnic table, shade, and a really great view. The trailhead for the Lost Mine Trail was about a mile from my campsite. At that starting point, it's a 2.4-mile hike up a mountain with an elevation gain of 1,100 feet. About a mile in is a spot called the Lookout, exposing Juniper Canyon to the south. The legend of the Lost Mine is that in the mid-1500s, the Chizos Indians had a silver mine in the mountains. Spanish explorers found it and enslaved the Chizos while keeping the silver. The Indians rebelled and killed the Spanish. Then they sealed and hid the mine so human greed would never affect their tribe again. There's the campground where I started the hike. The trail ends on a rocky ridge at 6,850 feet of elevation. It was a breathtaking environment in terms of both scenery and thin air, not to mention a fantastic destination point. Heading down the mountain, the views were constant, long, and inspiring. As I hiked, life's far-reaching possibilities became clearer and clearer. Big Bend is famous for having over 200 miles of hiking trails. Before leaving your campsite, make sure all food is placed safely in the bear box. When camping in wild country, always remember rule number 1. Never ever have food in your tent. The window trailhead was about 50 feet from my campsite. It is 2 miles to the window, which is partially visible at the beginning of the hike. Instead of going up, the trail descends 800 feet. The first mile of the trail goes through open scrub vegetation with views of the surrounding Chizos peaks. The last mile of the trail enters a cool, shady canyon. At the end of the trail is the window, the pour-off that drains the entire Chizos Basin. The window is a narrow slot in the canyon wall formed by water erosion. As the saying goes, on a clear day, you can see forever. Not only can you see a long way out, but also a long way down. My favorite way to experience Big Bend is backcountry camping. If you're looking for some peace and quiet, I suggest skipping the campgrounds and getting a backcountry camping permit. The park has numerous backcountry sites available. You won't have to worry about loud neighbors ruining your trip. There are no bathrooms, no dumpsters, no water, and no one else close by. Here on Paint Gap Road, the Chizos Mountains provide an excellent backdrop. One of the great things about these wide open spaces is you can take off hiking in any direction you want. But there are a lot of pointy plants in the desert, so bring a pair of tweezers and antibiotic cream. Here are some more backcountry tips.
Bring your own source of shade. Natural sources are few and far between, and you will need to get out of the sun from time to time. Bring a small shovel, toilet paper, and some baggies. When it's time for a bowel movement, go out in the desert and find a spot with a good view, dig a hole 8 to 10 inches deep, squat down, do your thing, then cover it up. Put your used toilet paper in your baggie, then put the baggie in the trash. Always remember, you'll be packing your trash out with you when you leave. Most importantly, bring lots of water. I bring plenty of drinking water and an ample supply of wash water, which I use to wash dishes and sometimes wash my face and shave. Hey, it's over 30 miles to the nearest shower, and that's not a drive I want to make every day, or even every other day, or shoot, it's been about a week since I've had a shower. Aren't you glad this is television and not smell-o-vision?
There are some good trails in the desert. This one leads to Mule Ear Springs. It's a mostly flat, easy trail that passes close by the mule ears. Although seemingly barren, there's a lot to observe in the desert. Just before the springs, you'll see the remnants of an old rock corral. Then you come to an out-of-place green spot surrounding a small pond with reeds and cattails. The spring trickles up through some rocks and fills the pond even during droughts. In the desert, the best time of day is sunset, and Big Bend offers up some great ones. The big West Texas sky and the vast West Texas panorama make this an artist's paradise. Throw in a variety of clouds and colors, and you'll know why painters and photographers flock here. It's 2.4 miles from the Chimneys trailhead to the Chimneys. At Big Bend, distances seem closer than they really are. Even when you can see your destination in the horizon, it takes much longer to reach it than you might have anticipated. That fact, along with a growing feeling of isolation and lack of water, can lead to desert fatigue. Experts differ on the best way to deal with desert fatigue. I think the best way to deal with desert fatigue is head to the Texas coast. There are lots of places to camp right on the beach. When I'm feeling social, I enjoy heading to Port Aransas, which is on Mustang Island by Corpus Christi. Mustang Island is a barrier island protecting Corpus Christi Bay. A ferry takes you out to the island. Port Aransas is a funky beach town I've been visiting for many years. Find your own stretch of sand, set up your gear, and start enjoying the Gulf of Mexico. There's a bathhouse, so don't be afraid of the salt water. There's a lot to see and do here at I.B. McGee Park. Bring your bike with you for some great cruising. The park runs from Horace Caldwell Pier to the Corpus Christi Ship Channel. The channel provides a soft spot for boats entering the Gulf of Mexico. It also makes a soft spot for ships slowing down to enter Corpus Christi Bay. When the vessel comes through the channel, it creates the illusion that it's going to run aground into the beach. That makes for some excellent theater. The pier also generates interesting subject matter. It's alive morning, noon, and night. best thing about camping on the beach is being there at the crack of dawn and experiencing the start of a new day on the Gulf. I enjoy watching the fishing boats head out to sea with great expectations. I enjoy seeing the sunrise over the water. And of course, I enjoy a morning session of playing in the waves. The waves never stop. They wash right through me, cleansing my soul of any and all stress. I stay close to the waves all day. They keep coming, one after another. Their sound permeates my entire being and leaves me at peace. As the sun sets, all I can think about is what a great day tomorrow will be. And that makes me a happy camper.